What's up, everybody? We are back at it again with another video. So this is called Stop Confusing Yourself, Define the Problem and Solve It by Ovens. So let's see how good this is.
Called Stop Confusing Yourself. Define the problem and solve it.
Define the problem and solve it. Those are very good happenstances. Whatever the problem is, you can solve it and you can understand it, and then you become wiser within those four pillars. And through that, you may never know where those four pillars will lead you to. And knowing when you define it, solve it, and realize and then understand about it, those four pillars can come up from any happenstance to a point in time where you see your life going. So don't waste your time, don't waste your energy, don't waste your life.
So one thing that I see that is just plaguing most entrepreneurs and actually, most people in the entire world is that they're so confused. They don't.
First of all, everybody is confused. It doesn't matter who you are, what you are trying to do, what you're trying to become. Everybody is confused about what the fuck you are doing.
Know what to do. And the main reason why they don't know what to do is because they don't know what they want. And when you don't know what you want, you can't possibly know what to do. And then they end up...
When you don't know what you want and don't know what you want to do, those are two different stands where you don't have your dreams, you don't have your reality, don't have the vision, don't have the understanding yet, which will take time. And if all that we are is time, then why do we waste such of it?
confused and frustrated because they know they should be doing something, but they don't know what because they don't know what they want, and they don't know what to do or what they want because they don't know, right? So this is just a big mess. And, most of the time, like human beings, they actually get like satisfaction and joy out of, having a clearly defined goal and making steady progress towards that.
Satisfaction and what we truly do to understand that we must satisfy our goals, our dreams, and our aspirations now, because if not, we will be forgotten in 3 generations. So don't waste your life. Don't waste your time. Take action now. Grab the wheel now. Do with what you have now.
Goal. And this guy actually did a fascinating study, and I've actually forgotten his name because it's like 28 letters long or something. It's a really complicated name. But what I'll do is I'll link beneath this video to the book that I read by him, which is called Flow. And this book's phenomenal. And it talks about flow state and how like humans, they talk about this place called the zone. You've probably heard athletes talk about the zone, or extreme sports people, or coders, or anyone. They can get into this very quiet zone state.
Zone, which is also flow state, like he stated earlier. Flow and zone are 2 of the same categories within the subcategory of doing with what you want now.
And when they're in that state, it's like their sense of self disappears. It's like time slows down and space, just folds in and collapses. And it's like they're just in the work, right? And when you're in this zone, like, you do your best work.
When you're in the zone, you do your best work. I can totally agree with that, because when you're in the zone, you can lock in, you can try, you can state whatever you want to state, as long as it's building your own personal brand or persona around this certain perspective.
And what this guy wanted to really figure out, he was a psychologist, and he really wanted to figure out what makes humans happy. And so what he did is he got these little pages, like these little buzzers, and he gave them out to like hundreds of different people, randomly selected all over the world, and they would buzz at random times. And at these random times when it buzzed, the person was supposed to pull out a notebook, which they had in their pocket, and then write down exactly what they were doing at the time that it buzzed and how they were feeling, whether they were feeling happy or whatever. And he let these people collect data for a long time, and then he collected all of that data and he started compiling it and analyzing it. And what he found was fascinating. He found that when humans reported being most happy, when they were doing a task that had a clearly defined goal and objective, and they were making steady progress towards that goal without distraction. And also they were good, they were skilled enough to try the goal, but not too skilled that it was easy, right? So it was challenging, but not too challenging, definitely not too easy, clearly defined outcome, and they were left alone without distraction to just focus on it and get it done. And this is very true. If you've ever experienced being in the zone before, and if you recollect what was going on at that time, then you'll find that there was a very clearly defined goal, and you were left alone to just do your thing and get that goal done. And when you're in the zone, you feel amazing, and it's probably the most it's probably the happiest, or the best you can possibly feel, really. And it's an amazing place to be, and lots of studies have shown that this is really good for your health too. This is where you're most creative, this is where you're most effective, this is
where you're most creative and most effective. Whatever it is you're trying to get out of life now, get it out of life now. Be that gamer, be that content creator, be that understanding person. Because for me, I would rather be posting content for y'all more so than being on my ass playing video games or watching TV. I'd rather do this and go to sleep feeling like I accomplished something, which I have.
Where you're sharp, at your mind's at its best, and
where your mindset is best, where your mind is sharp. The saying, iron sharpens iron, and dull sharpens wood. If the edge is sharp enough, it will sharpen to a constant.
And there's so much benefit to being in the zone, and it really correlates to why most people don't know what they want and why they're confused and frustrated, because that is not the zone. When you're confused, frustrated, and you don't know what you want, and you don't know what to do because you don't know what you want, then you're in the anti-zone. It's basically just inverted zone, right? And if the zone is as good as you can feel, then this one's going to be pretty shitty, right? And it makes sense, and it starts because there's no clearly defined objective. It's not very fun to be in a position where you don't know what you're trying to achieve, right? And it's because then you don't know what to do, and you just get totally confused. And what I've noticed is that most entrepreneurs are like this. I've got a company called consulting.com, and what we do is we help people start and grow their own consulting businesses in any niche. And we do Q&A calls, and we do 2 of them a week, and we've got 3 programs, and they go for hours long. So, I end up doing probably 6 hours a week of Q&A, just answering questions, just hundreds of questions, right? And I've done this for years, more than 4 or 5 years. And so over this amount of time, I've answered a lot of questions, and I've observed a lot of people and their situations. And what I've noticed is very similar to the study of the zone and having a clear objective. Because most of the time on one of these Q&A calls, when somebody gets on and it's their time to speak and ask a question, a lot of the time the person will tell a story. They will say things, and then they won't ask a question, right? And a very clear sign that somebody is confused is when they don't ask a question and they tell a story, or they tell a statement instead, right? And also another sign that someone's confused is if they just tell their story and then they say, so what do you think? You can tell that person is confused. And people who aren't confused are the people who will ask a very clear question, and then all the person has to do is answer it, which is very easy. And this is fascinating, because what I've learned to do from hundreds of these Q&A calls, thousands of hours of them, is just be like, what's the question? And a lot of the time, the person doesn't even know what the question is. So then I have to help, and I have to be like, well,
Once you define the question, the answer will show its true form. So think of questions in the comments if you guys want to ask me questions, be my guest. And of course, only I can understand what the question or comment will say.
what are you trying to do? And they don't know.
What are you trying to do? What are you trying to unlock? What are you trying to say? What are you trying to preach on this certain perspective or persona?
And then when I say, well, before we do anything, we need to figure out, what are you trying to do? What are you
trying to do? What are you trying to figure out? What are you trying to say? What are you trying to understand? What are you trying to believe? What are you trying to build perspective on?
trying to achieve here? And just by pushing them to think, what am I trying to achieve here? They'll get that clarity and they'll say, I'm trying to achieve this. I'm trying to get more clients. I'm trying to grow my business. Or I'm trying to, get more systems and processes and automation in my business so that I've got more time, right? Then we've got some clarity. Now we've set that objective. We know what we're trying to do, right?
We know what we're trying to do. We know what we're trying to say. We know what we're trying to prove.
Then once they've got that, I'll be like, okay, well, what's stopping you from doing that? And a lot of the time, the person is just like, oh, well, nothing. I know what to do. And we're done, And I didn't even have to answer their question. I didn't even have to really look at their story or anything like that. All I had to do was just ignore what they told me and say, what are you trying to do? Or what's the problem? And this is a fascinating thing to learn about problem solving. And it works very well if you're trying to solve problems for other people, but it also works extremely well to use on yourself. And the reason why I wanted to make this video is that I've noticed a lot of entrepreneurs, they're out there in the world, and a lot of people actually, this isn't just for entrepreneurs, this is for humans. They feel frustrated, anxious, confused every day.
They feel frustrated, confused every day because they don't know what their dreams, goals, or reality could be. They don't know what their reality could be. They don't know what their dreams could be, or they don't even know what their dreams could be. Once we are dust, we are nothing but dust in the grain of sand of our time. So don't waste your life. Don't waste your time.
And it's because they don't know what they should do, or what they're doing something, but they don't know if it's the best thing that they should be doing.
They don't know if it's the best thing to be wasting their time on. Whatever that wasted time is, it's wasted on something else.
And the reason why they don't know this is because they don't know what they want long term. And so
they don't know what they want long term. They don't know what to have, what to say with what they have now.
Step one to solving all of this confusion and anxiety and everything, is just to figure out what you want. And sometimes that's hard for people to do. Sometimes you've got to take some alone time to go away and think, away from social media, away from your phone, away from other people.
Wait until it turns to 3 a.m. and you're up with those late night thoughts. What are those thoughts telling you? What are they trying to understand? What are they trying to say? What are they trying to bring out to you?
And just think, what do I want? What am I trying to achieve? And then when you've got that, write it down and make sure it's clear. And what you'll find is that when you know what you want and you've written it down and it's defined, now all we're trying to do is find the best possible action to achieve that objective, right? But we can't possibly choose an action when we don't know what the objective is. So objective number one, then choosing the best possible action. And a lot of the time, and Einstein said this, he said, if I had 1 hour to solve a problem, I'd spend 55 minutes defining it and 5 minutes